We are back on the sidelines. I'm Lindsay Patterson. Mollie Watson, I know you know who that is over on Q102. And
Hello, hello.
a should-be Hall of Famer, Kenny Anderson. Kenny, how you doing?
I'm doing great. A little chilly down in Hilton Head, but nothing like you've got in Cincinnati.
Well, I'm a little jealous you're in Hilton Head right now because it's pretty cold right now. Winter has hit in Cincinnati.
Well, I had to put the sides down on my golf cart today and turn on the heater. So, I had to rough it today.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Tough life. Well, we'll go ahead and get to it right now. Unfortunately, his season was cut short in his rookie year, and I know you've talked plenty about rookie quarterback Joe Burrow. What did you think overall of his rookie year, Kenny?
I thought it was very successful, obviously, with the injury, but I thought, considering that there was no off season and training camp was different, practices were different, the whole COVID procedures, protocols that you had to go through. But I thought he did extremely well. I liked the way that he was commanding the offense. He was accurate. I know, he would like to have some throws back, but again, he's, a rookie thrust into it. But no, I was very pleased with him. But I think more than what he did, from a physical standpoint of throwing the football, was the leadership qualities that he showed and how the team, even though he was a rookie, really looked up and respected him.
And I'm going to jump in here. Lindsay, did you have anything to add?
No,
Lindsay?
you're good. You're
okay,
good.
there you go. Okay, sorry. It's so hard with these. I don't want to cut anybody off. Ken, so while we're still talking about Joe, what do you think? Can he get the Bengals over the hump? Do we see a playoff win in the future? What are your thoughts?
Well, I go back and look at my career and, when I was good in the mid 70s and going to Pro Bowls, we were going to playoffs. And when I was, good in the early 80s and we were going to playoffs and a Super Bowl, it's the team that you have around you as a quarterback that allows you to be as good as you can be, and I think the Bengals still need some pieces. I think the encouraging thing last year was the number of one-score games that they were in. And I think, we've got to, go to ahead, be able to win some of those games next year if we're going to take that next step. But I think, it's not a secret. I think there still needs to be some work to be done on the offensive line. And I know they had a lot of injuries and a lot of guys had to rotate in and play different positions last year. But for any quarterback to be successful, it starts with a good offensive line. And we talked to Lapham and Munoz and Montoya and Blair Bush and Bob Johnson and all those guys that played with me.
When you look at traits of a quarterback, and like we said, you're familiar with rookie quarterback Joe Burrow. Do you see any traits within Burrow that you kind of had within yourself?
Well, he was thrust into it. I was lucky. The draft was in January in those days, and they didn't have all the rules. So I moved to Cincinnati the first week of February, and it was just Bill Walsh and I for 2 months working together on my technique and learning the offense. And then we didn't have an off-season program back in those days because everybody worked. And then we had a mini camp, and then our training camp was 9 weeks long. We reported to Wilmington, Ohio, July 7th. We didn't break till September 15th. The league didn't open until the last Sunday in September, in those days. So I had a longer period of time to adjust. And I didn't have to carry the load my rookie year. I know Virgil Carter got hurt in the third game, and I went up in Green Bay and then played 4 games after that. So I had a taste of it. So, but I think that, kind of let me, go into it again the next year. And of course, I came from Augustana College. I didn't win a national championship at LSU. He had to step up on me.
You mentioned Wilmington College, and I'm familiar with that. It's a small town. Do you have any Wilmington College stories that you can share from training camp?
Well, geez, I mean, I remember there was one time, you kind of went stir crazy when you're up there for 5 weeks. And, we had a linebacker named Ron Pritchard. He would kind of sneak up behind guys and dump talcum powder all over them. And so we kind of had a little jog in the hallway in Wilmington. And so I saw him going after somebody and I was going after him, and I got him and I turned to run and the door closed and I caught it with my head and started gushing blood. And, you can't go to the hospital, the coach, what are they, you thinking, Anderson? So the closest I could do was Tommy Casanova, who was in medical school. And so we got the bleeding stop and got a Band-Aid on it, but I was really nervous about practice the next day. And, so we had our meeting, and I went into the meeting before practice with my helmet on to make sure I could get it on and nothing was starting to bleed. And I left it on until practice was over. So luckily I had a doctor on call with Tommy Casanova.
Oh, Kenny, I will say I've been to several, and I think I've probably helped host before several of your events for your foundations over the years. And you are such a great storyteller. Like you tell the best stories. So while we're still kind of talking memories and, kind of throwback here, when you were mentioning first coming to Cincinnati, tell us what was your standout moment? Like, wow, this is where I'm living. This place is cool. Was there a moment where you just fell in love with Cincinnati?
Well, number one, it was hard to get to in those days. I'm driving down, 74 from Rock Island, and it ended, there was no 275 in those days, and 74 didn't come in town. So I'm taking a lot of side roads to get in, and then, trying to find a place to live. And my first apartment was at the Forum Apartments, Dick Smith in Clifton, as you're going up to UC. And I thought, man, is this the big time? It's a high rise apartment, and a lot of the Reds lived there, and and a lot of the Bengals were living there, and I thought, the little clubhouse was a bar, and I thought, man, you got your own bar and a pool and an apartment. I mean, life doesn't get better than this.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That was your oh, I've made it kind of moment. This is pretty cool. That's neat.
Well, that one. Then when my car from college broke down and I had it towed. There was a car dealership downtown at that time, Columbia Olds, that a lot of players dealt with, and that I could, have them come and tow me in. And I went to the showroom and picked out a new Cutlass and bought it, and actually had enough credit where I could get a car loan to buy a car. So maybe that was the time that I knew I'd made it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great memory. So circling back to the Bengals, expectations for 2021. Where's your head at with this?
Well, I think we need to see improvement, obviously. One of the things that's tough right now is that, the Baltimore Ravens are really playing well. Lamar Jackson's at the top of his game. Cleveland's coming back. They are, another playoff team, and Baker Mayfield's playing there. And Pittsburgh is always going to be tough. And I know Big Ben, kind of faltered at the end, but, I still think he's a quality quarterback. So it's tough, I think, to say, well, we're going to surpass all three of those teams in 1 year. But one of those, the common trait among those three playoff teams is they have a quality quarterback, and we have that in Cincinnati. So again, we talked about a lot of close games that we're playing in, and we've just got to go ahead and execute, and we've got to find a way to win some of those games and take that first step to become competitive.
You mentioned the quarterback play, and I'm going to put you on the spot here because obviously we didn't get to see a full year out of Joe Burrow. Ben had his struggles out there, and Lamar Jackson was coming off an MVP year. If you were to rank the four quarterbacks in the division, where are you putting Joe Burrow?
Well, it's tough to say right now, but I think he can be as good as any of them. Not that speculation, obviously, because we've only had a partial season out of him, but with what he did, in college on the big stage, and Paul Brown always had a saying, he could tell if the game was a little too big for somebody. Well, the big stage is not too big for Joe Burrow, and like I say, when he gets the supporting cast around him, he's going to be as good as anybody in the division.
When you hear the conversation and going back a little bit and looking forward when it comes to the Hall of Fame, I mean, it's probably exhausting how many times people come up to you and say, Kenny Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame. And unfortunately, the Bengals don't have anybody but Anthony Munoz in the Hall of Fame. And if you look at past players, who do you think should be in the Hall that's not in there right now, besides yourself?
Kenny Riley, one of our great defensive backs. What did he have? 65 interceptions, some ungodly number. I think it's the fourth most ever in National Football League history. The guys in front of him that have more are in the Hall of Fame. When you go back in the days that we played, and he played in the late 60s and the early 70s for a big portion of his career, we only threw the ball 18, 20 times a game. So there weren't that many opportunities for him to get interceptions, and to come up with those numbers and not be in a Hall of Fame, I think, is a mistake.
Lindsay, did you want to add anything to that? No,
You're
you good. So kind of switching gears a little bit here as we're talking about other players, and I don't know how this kind of ties in here, but you're on Twitter,
Can you
right,
believe
Ken?
that?
You are on Twitter. This is exciting. What do you think? Do you like it? I love Twitter.
Well, it was a way my daughter-in-law kind of talked me into doing it. I asked her to take over our foundation Twitter account to see if we can't get a little more recognition for us. And she was doing that, and she said, if you really want to grow that, you need to get on Twitter. So she kind of helped me starting out in it, and so I can go ahead and add tweets and that. And if I've got to put pictures on a video, I kind of say, could you help me out with this, Jess? And she kind of does some of those things. But it's kind of fun that all of a sudden you hear from a cousin, distant cousin down in Orlando that happened to win my jersey in a raffle that we had for our foundation, and then to see some of the things that are posted. So it's kind of a way to connect, and I do best to follow my son's rule. He says, "Dad, don't ever push send after 3 beers." So I try to
Yes.
respect that rule.
Well, that's good. So you said you've reconnected with a lot of people?
Yeah, it's just kind of amazing, and all of a sudden that led into people know how to get a hold of me. So I've been doing a lot more podcasts, a lot more radio shows, a lot more Zoom shows because of that. Because now all of a sudden, people can, hey Kenny, how about doing this for me? And I've done them, with a group in London, and I did one. I think one of the guys was in Florida. I forget where the other one, but they were actually. I did the interview with 2 puppets. So, I've really expanded my horizons from my days at Channel 12.
That's awesome.
Do you wish you would have had social media when you were playing?
No, I'm glad we didn't have it. I was getting enough heat some of the time anyway, without people having another form besides just booing me.
Oh yeah.
It was easier for us, I think, in those days that we could actually have a life, that we could go out and be around town, and people were used to seeing you. And now, for the players, everybody's got a cell phone. Can I take a picture? And heaven forbid, you're out having an adult beverage and somebody videos it. Well, what's he doing out, on Thursday night? He should be studying. He's out, innocently getting something to eat and having a drink. It's just, there's a lot more pressure on the players nowadays.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I'll give a little shout out here at Ken Anderson NFL. That's your handle, correct?
That's it.
That's it. Go follow Ken. Go follow him.
Well, I'm up to over 10,000 now. So, I mean,
that's pretty good.
Started. And, but what's nice is, when I was doing I'll start them up soon, but, my Zoom happy hours, Keystone with Kenny, so I could kind of promote it on there, who the guests are going to be. And we had, Collinsworth on, and Johnny Bench, and Archie Manning, and Dan Fouts, and, NBA Hall of Famer Dan Issel, and Doug Flynn from the Reds, Coach John Brandon from the UC Bearcats. I had a couple comedians on. So it's been, I've had Jay DeMarcus on from Rascal Flats. So, and by the way, coming up February 28th is one of our events. It's Autism Rocks, and it's kind of a virtual event now. So go to KenAndersonAlliance.org, and you can find out how to tune in and be a part of our virtual. I think we've got 16 establishments that are already going to have watch parties for us for this. That we'll have bands playing virtually, and I won't be there because obviously we can't have a lot of people in the building. But I'm doing some interviews, and I've already taped a segment. We had Mike Reed, one of the great defensive linemen that played for the Bengals, but a great songwriter and a great entertainer in his own right. He sang a song for us on there. Jay DeMarcus from Rascal Flats performed a song for us on there. So there's a lot of reasons to tune in and be a part of the Ken Anderson Alliance on February 28th.
That's fantastic.
Make sure you check that out. And it's a big week, Kenny. You're familiar with it. Not a lot of former Cincinnati Bengals are familiar with Super Bowl week and what's that like. But the NFL players, they got a season in, which is really surprising, dealing with all the COVID-related issues around the world. But credit to the NFL, we're just days away from the big game. And what's that week like for players? I know a lot has changed, and obviously this year will look a little different. But Super Bowl week, how is that? What's going through your mind?
Well, it's, I was always a nervous person anyway. And, there's the media day, where you go and everybody's around. And of course, it's a much bigger deal now. They have it one of the first nights that you're there, and they had fans in there. Of course, now they had it last night and everything is virtual. And I actually think it's a lot easier on the teams now. Kansas City's not going to Tampa until Thursday or Saturday afternoon, just like a normal road game. Tampa Bay is, they're staying at their own houses, because it's a home game for them. So they won't have all the distractions that you normally have for a Super Bowl.
Okay, sorry. Trying to read my notes here. Okay, so thoughts on Tom Brady? Are you pretty impressed by him, or are you a big fan, or what are your thoughts on him, Ken?
No, I think, he's a tremendous quarterback. I mean, the 10th time he's played the Super Bowl, going for his 7th win, is amazing. And, the commitment that it's taken for him to lead a lifestyle, to keep his body and his mind going for that long, to be that competitive. And, you watched him play at the end of the year, you couldn't tell he was 43 years old. And, I think one of the advantages, there's nothing that you can throw at him that he hasn't seen before. So, and I guess if I've got a rooting sentiment, I'm rooting for them. The head coach, Bruce Arians, I worked for him the 3 years I coached when I was in Pittsburgh, and Tom Moore, 82 years old, still coaching as one of their offensive assistants. He is one of my best friends. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator, I coached for 4 years when I was down with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I know a lot of people in that organization. So that's kind of where my rooting sentiments lie.
And when you think about the Super Bowl, I mean, look, parties are going to look a little different this year. Maybe some people will be having some virtual parties, but food is extremely important. What are you going to have on Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, I mean, can you go wrong with wings and beer?
No.
And then, you throw chips and salsa in there and some other kind of dip. And babe, what else are we having on Super Bowl Sunday?
We're having minestrone soup.
Oh, minestrone soup as well. Okay.
Ooh, that sounds good. Is that tradition for you guys?
No, but my wife's an excellent cook. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, nice. Is it just going to be you two watching the game together this year?
Well, we're actually going to some friend's house.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know what just happened to me.
I don't know.
I don't know. It looked like a. Well, I don't know what's going on. It looks like a ghost.
Well,
I don't know either, but I wish everybody could see this right now, because that was a little crazy. Kenny, I know you said you want the Bucks to win.
I think it's the sun shining in.
That's what it is.
There it is.
That may be it.
That little golden hour going on right now through the windowsill. I know you said you want the Bucks to win because you're familiar with some of the people on the staff, but what's your prediction for Sunday?
No, I think Tampa will win it, and I think because their defense has played very well the last part of the season, so I'll kind of go with that. Although I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think both teams are going to score points.
Thank you, as always. I know Mollie said it too. You're great at hosting. You're a great interview. Anytime that people interact with you on social media or in person, I say you're a Hall of Fame football player, but I think you're a Hall of Fame person. And I can't thank you enough again for coming on with us.
The pleasure's all mine. And you've got my number. Anytime you need me, just call.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks.